going on, guys, and welcome back. Toxic lovers, your tyrant has arrived. Annihilus drops into Marvel Snap today, and he's probably gonna piss a lot of people off. We're gonna break down the card, the combos, our early impressions, and of course, is he worth going after? We're also gonna be talking about the top 10 cards right now in Marvel Snap, ranking them from 1 to 10 with my co-host. And then lastly, guys, we'll be breaking down the cards that you should be playing. Sleepers, the underplayed cards that nobody, for whatever reason, is playing in their decks. We're going to talk about all that today, more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, guys, I am joined by Mr. Alex Coccia. Hello, happy another Marvel Snap week. We had our Twitch drops. We've got the Toxic week coming ahead. How you feeling, bud?
I'm feeling great. It's been an absolutely fantastic week to be a Marvel Snap player. Anytime there's Twitch drops, I think that generates a lot of excitement in the community. And I don't know about you, Cozy, I had a ton of fun. We had a lot of people come out saying that they, love the Snapchat, and it's always heartwarming to hear.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was a good time. Excited for it. Feeling better finally, and we appreciate carrying the workload last week, man. But we got our work cut out for us this week. Pretty good week in Marvel Snap. Of course, we got the OTA coming out later on this coming Thursday. But man, we've got quite the card coming out. So you guys know what we're talking about on this side of the channel. Can't wait to talk about the top 10 cards in the game at the moment in our opinions. But Alex, what are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
We'll be talking about Gladiator in review. It's been a fun week with Gladiator, and I don't know about you, Cozy, but I've got a lot to say because this card has been one of my most played cards in the past little while, and for better or worse, we'll have to discuss. And then we're also going to talk about the state of the meta. The meta has been wildly swinging with the OTA changes that have been occurring. We're going to discuss our top decks and other things that we are seeing in our games. And then finally, we're going to talk about our buff candidates. We have an OTA coming out this week, and we're going to see which cards are the ones that we think need to get buffed.
Well, dude, looking forward to the end of 2023. Typically, they have like an update or two come out at the end of the year. And more specifically, dude, I'm ready for another road ahead. You know, when was the last one we got? Was that back in like June-ish?
Yeah, we haven't had a roadmap in a long time, and like I'm really interested in seeing what they are working on and what's like actually like the coming soon part. Like I always appreciate the like, hey, we're thinking about this stuff, right? The in the future side, but the coming soon they seem to execute on far sooner than perhaps we would expect. I really would like to know what they're working on, specifically like card borders. In a Q&A, they actually mentioned like, hey, we got a plan for card borders. And I was like, thank God, like card borders, here we go. Let's go, let's pick them. But like, I just want to know what they're working on too. I totally agree.
Well, for sure, man. A lot of things to get excited about in Marvel Snap. But let's go ahead and just talk about the new card. As you know, man, big Toxic Junk Disrupt fan over here as of late. And we've had cards that come out like Gladiator and ones where we don't know how they're going to be or where they fit in. But Annihilus, right away, we know the home that he belongs in, and there's a lot of people that are excited about this card, and I think there's a lot of people that are absolutely going to dread him. Annihilus, guys, is a 5-cost 7-power card on reveal. Your cards with 0 or less power switch sides, and he's going to destroy those that cannot switch sides. Now, this will not destroy any card that is over that amount, but if you have a card like a Goblin that can't go to the opponent's side, Annihilus is going to blow them up. Now, my friend, what are your initial impressions? Because you've had some hot takes on the cards this month. What about Annihilus?
So with Annihilus, I'd like to believe this is a card that everyone should have in their collection. Whether or not it's OP or it releases strong, it has such a unique archetype defining characteristic that I think it's a tool that everyone needs in their tool shed, so to speak, right? And so for that reason, I think it's one to target. And as it is, the Spotlight Week's great. It's already great as it is. And I think that Annihilus being what it is, whether or not it comes out a little overtuned or undertuned, is going to be something you want. Now, it did get pre-nerfed from a 5.8 to a 5.7. That's pretty notable. However, this is one of those cards that's going to age like fine wine. As more cards are released into Marvel Snap, any card that fits within its shell is going to be potentially, an Annihilus card. Just like every 3-drop could potentially be a Surfer card, or any 4-drops potentially a Zabu card, right? It has the exact same effect. Anything that could be within its range, or of course being a junk enabler, is going to be something Annihilus wants, and therefore I think it's a card you're going to want in your collection.
So what's the star rating you're giving it early on?
I think it's like I think it's going to be probably into the 3-4 range, maybe on the 4 side. Just because like if you think about the way the decks are right now, we actually don't have that many tools for it. If you actually like really think about its synergistic cards, there are some really amazing synergies, and we'll talk about that momentarily. But for the most part, it's not like a wide gamut. It's not like Surfer where it's like you have like a million choices and different tech options and stuff. Annihilus won't have that, but he'll have that eventually. I do think the card is going to have a high impact, but I think it is kind of brought down slightly by the fact that it just simply does not have the tools yet to really make it S tier.
Yeah, I think really this is going to be a pretty banger card. A couple of reasons why. First of all, it doesn't really matter about just the meta as a whole. If you look month to month, it's been about the same. These decks that are flooding cards quite consistently, right? We do have some counterpoints to this, but if you look at Loki, you look at Miss Marvel, these are, obviously decks and synergies that don't want other cards on their side to take advantage of what they're trying to do, and Annihilus is going to fit just that, right? But second of all, Toxic doesn't have a great finisher. It's got a lot of cool combo pieces, and it has a lot of unique things about it. It's super popular at the moment because it can ruin combos like, Doc Ock and things like that. But Annihilus finally feels like, the exclamation point on what you're trying to accomplish within the match. And on top of that, it is like a super Viper, right? There are cards like Sentry, we're going to talk about it, and we can probably lean into him in a second, that need the synergy of Viper to really get the payback or the big value that he brings. And Annihilus is yet another tool in that tool shed that you referred to earlier. Definitely think if you have even been tempted or you've played the Junk archetype, you're going to want to play him. Let's quickly talk about, though, the spotlight. It's worth always talking about this, guys. It is going to be Dawkin, X23, and Annihilus himself. In my humble opinion, if you at all want to flirt with Destroy, X23 is one of the premier cards. I think it's probably one of the most perfect cards designed in the past couple of months. If you don't have her, this, in my opinion, is a no question go for it week, Alex. She's too valuable for that archetype.
Oh, there's no question about it. It's fantastic. And even like Dawkin, it's understated how good that card has been.
Yep.
Like it single-handedly is a key component of the discard archetype right now, which is doing wonders on the meta right now. So like, yeah, I agree 100%. If you don't have X23, definitely a card worth targeting, especially since Destroy over the last 5 months has been one of the most consistent archetypes in the game since X23 came out. Is it, is it like ironic? Is it coincidence that X23 comes out and then all of a sudden Destroy is a consistent performer in the meta? I don't think so. Definitely worth targeting.
Yeah, I mean, so that means 2 great cards that complete an archetype in 1 week. And then you get like a spicy pick with Dawkin who kind of fits into, he's replaceable, but it's one of those cards that is nice to have in creative deck building. Definitely can throw your opponents off because they don't know what to do against him. He's often a fun flavor pick. So great spotlight week if you don't have them both. If you do, maybe a bit tougher of a choice, but Annihilus, hopefully by the end of this, you'll know whether you want to get him or not. Let's go ahead and talk about some key combos to start off. Obviously, like you said, Junk isn't this giant wide array of different options. We have kind of a narrow list, but I do think there are some really interesting combinations and synergies that people may not be thinking of. And I want to go ahead and start with the one that we kind of just led into. This is a turn 5 card, which I think is very fun and different because it's not exactly a card that you always want to play on turn 6. You're sending cards over, and so to do that, you want to make sure you can actually send these cards over. And so obviously playing them on turn 5 is going to be the most beneficial for you in the strategy you're trying to play. Sentry, man, this -10 void cannot be stated enough. This is a 17 power switch if you do play Annihilus. Of course, you have to play Sentry. If you look at total power, we're looking at what? A 17 negative. It's a lot. It's a lot pushing on the opponent's side. To me, Sentry he's kind of been eked out of a lot of these toxic lists because there are other things. I've been running a She-Hulk Infinite toxic list. Like, there are other ways that you want to finish because if you don't get the right components, you're not going to win all the time. If you got this void on your side, it's looking like some dark days, right? So Sentry for me is the number one right off the bat. I'm loving them. I've got a lot of cards to talk about, Alex. What are your favorites right now, or some of your favorites with Annihilus?
So I love what you're saying here, because what you're saying with Sentry is absolutely true. You either have 2 options. 1, the void goes over, absolute win, or 2, the void gets destroyed. Like, that's not bad. You never lose that. And you're on curve, right? So it's perfect, because before you'd play the Sentry and you'd have to have an answer. You'd have to have Carnage, or you'd have to have Viper, you'd have to have Valkyrie. And those were your options on turn 5. Now you have a very natural synergistic turn 5 play in Annihilus. Now, one card that I absolutely love. Now, I've been trying to design, I'm actually excited about Annihilus, really excited. And I've been trying to design some decks around him. There are 2 cards I want to talk about that I think nobody's really thinking about. The first is Man-Thing. Man-Thing is going to be awesome, because if you don't draw into your Sentry, you can actually play your Man-Thing, and you're going to pull and push a bunch of garbage onto their side of the board. And the nice thing about it is, if you're playing other synergistic cards, which I don't want to, spoil all our stuff, but you're going to be, let's say we might have a lot of rocks on our side waiting to go on their side. You know where they're going to be going. You know where you've played kind of like the bulk of your cards that are going to get thrown over. You play your Man-Thing there. When you play Annihilus, those cards go over, and Man-Thing's sitting there just pumping them with negative power. I love it.
Yeah, dude. Listen, I love what you're trying to talk about with this Man-Thing, because there are obvious cards, like we could talk about the Hood, Viper targets that exist, the negative ones that you kind of think about right away, the Goblins, sure. But man, talk about self-inflicting as well, like trying to get the negative points, because there's not a lot of cards that hit the threshold that you even want to send over, right? You don't want to send over a Dracula. You don't want to send over these cards that you're going to want to use later. You want to send over, obviously, garbage. That's the whole goal of the deck. So you mentioned Man-Thing. I loved it. This is definitely one that I was going to talk about. But what about some ones that people already have access to? Dude, I thought about it more and more, and I can't believe I didn't put my head to this right away. Typhoid Mary. One of the biggest, worst things about the card is that she's pushing -1 power to your side. Now it's a gift, and you're getting 10 power. What a swing. What a swing this would be, just to shove everything over there that you don't want anyway. Obviously, you have to plan out the deck to not get rid of anything that you might want or need. And definitely the way you play out Luke Cage would be a lot different, which is where I thought you were alluding to with the Man thing initially, where maybe you could even just kind of tech out stuff on the last turn, because you already have such a swing in that power, right? So I thought Typhoid Mary was a very spicy pick. But Alex, what about this? This one I was like, wait a second, because you could play this with Annihilus on the same turn. And I haven't seen anyone talk about this yet. My friend, Yellow Jacket, who's already gotten a little bit of a buff, per se. Not buff, I'm sorry. He's got more play. But dude, don't you like the idea of doing like a -1 and pushing that on your side, and then you also play Annihilus same turn? I haven't seen anyone talk about Yellow Jacket yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And Yellow Jacket could be really interesting with even something like Squirrel Girl Squirrels. Like, you can send them over, right?
Yep.
I think that Yellow Jacket is pretty neat, because you can play it on turn 5 with Annihilus. And it fills their board, and it's still 2 power, which is beneficial. The Typhoid Mary call was so interesting too. I had not thought about that. I had Yellow Jacket on my notes, not Typhoid Mary though. I love where your head's at here. I love where your head's at, because the idea of inflicting negative power on your side to enable more of a pushback, I think that's remarkable. And I think that it is going to be one of the key synergistic components of Annihilus.
Yeah, I mean, and talk about the power swing of doing the negative power, sending over with Annihilus. You have a play on 4. I always say 4 play. I swear to God, not this time. And then you have Annihilus on 5. And then on turn 6, you throw a Luke Cage in there, plus whatever else you want to throw in. That's a huge swing, because you're getting the 10 power to boot, right? Even if you do let's say a Luke Cage Shang-Chi. Great, looks good. You can counter just about anything with that. You have a lot of power pumping out. So I think, I love that we started there, right? People want to think about what you alluded to, the Debris, which I think is great. I think Debris is going to be a huge card for this. But the Man-Thing, the Typhoid. Toxic is all about playing with fire. I've talked about this a lot. And he is going to kind of make this even more of a flame to play with, right? Because you're playing with fire. But what's great about him is that if the fire doesn't work out, he destroys those that can't. So it's not even like that big of a risk. That's why I love the card. I think that last line is so massive. And on top of this, listen, I love Ravonna. I love the Hobgoblin decks. I love the Green Goblin decks. But to be able to say, sorry, Galactus, you're already getting no play, and now I'm going to even ruin that play even more by just completely getting rid of your goblins and sending them right back, return to Cinder. That's a massive line. Huge thing that Annihilus can pull.
It absolutely is. I mean, we haven't had direct counters like that on turn 5 for the junk-based archetype. Like, it's funny because it kind of counters itself, right, with the Green Goblin and Hobgoblin. The only thing that comes kind of close is Odin, of course, right? It has a similar to Odin style effect, but this will just like send the entire board back, not into a specific location. So if there's Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, or whatever, it's all going back. And actually, on this note, I want to mention a card that like I have written down. I don't know if it's a meme or not, but here's a hot take. You're probably going to see a lot of Annihilus mirror matches coming up in the first week of its launch. I think that Ghost might be pretty interesting, because if you have Ghost and they Annihilus you, you can just return to sender everything that they just sent over. And so, like, I think that low key, if you're seeing lots of kind of mirror matches for that first week only, this isn't a meta shaking for the next month, but Ghost might actually be pretty spicy, because you can use Ghost to push everything they sent to you back all the way to their side of the board.
Yeah, dude, that is fun. I like the idea that it's gonna be interesting how many people risk, and the meta will determine. He's usually gonna be a turn 5 play, but it'll be interesting to see who does hold on to him for turn 6. And or if you do draw him on turn 6, not bad. 7 power, definitely not, not nothing to laugh at. I like the Ghost idea for sure. Now, on that note, I do want to just talk about, there's more cards to talk about, what are going to be synergized with him well, and there's a lot more cards to talk about what will be good. However, let's talk about why I am a bit hesitant a little bit in today's current meta. Now, I think that there are plenty of ways to counter him, as there is junk, right? There's plenty of bad matchups. Obviously, right now, we just talked about X23. Destroy right now and Professor X. These are the two biggest counters for this guy. I mean, are they both top 5 decks right now? Probably. Easily. Actually, I can say both of those are in a top 5 spot, right? Destroy eats Annihilus's lunch. He welcomes them over. However, because he's a turn 5 play and the way that Destroy works, I also don't think it's as easy as people make it sound to be. Once you play turn 5, when you're on turn 5, you're looking to throw down the Null and the Death at that point, right? You've probably already used the Deathlock, the Carnage. You've already used probably the Venom at this point. So it might be a little bit tougher. In fact, there might be more room to push some of this over. So I thought that was kind of interesting that Destroy, although is a natural counter, has ways that it might have a tough time dealing with the onslaught of these negative cards.
I think the challenge is going to be that Destroy also runs Killmonger. I think Killmonger is kind of the one that like just wipes out all the rocks, wipes out the hood, wipes out whatever, and then leaves them with nothing, but also feeds death, right? Feeds death. So then death just drops in cost. And then obviously Mobius doesn't exist anymore. So death is always going to be 0 cost against these style decks. So while it might be challenging on turn 5 with like, you're not going to want to waste Carnage or Venom on that type of situation. Same time, I think that Killmonger at 3, I mean, if they play Debris, and then you just Killmonger everything like that, that's awful. That feels awful.
Definitely. Killmonger, yeah, is who I had last. It's the biggest counter for the deck, against the deck, 100%. It'll be interesting because when you play this deck, and you're playing a Deadpool deck, and that guy got greedy. He has X23 out there, Nova, Deadpool is like, I'm going to play my Killmonger now. You're celebrating. You are ecstatic because then you can pull off the big play. I do think it hurts Null a lot. Obviously, Null hates the negative power. Even though they can get rid of the rocks, Null's not going to like all that negative push. But Professor X is definitely going to be the easiest way. Nothing's going to swap. Everything's going to stay the same. Alex, do you feel like Annihilus is going to suffer the same fate as, let's say, Man-Thing? Whereas the week he comes out, he's the worst, and then he is significantly slept on, and then all of a sudden everybody's loving Man-Thing.
No, I don't think it'll be quite that bad, because I think that like Man-Thing had like the single card counter. Like it was just easy enough just to throw Luke Cage into whatever you wanted to. I don't think it's that simple for Annihilus. I don't think like if you're just playing Destroy to counter Annihilus, then you're probably just playing Destroy anyway. Like it's not like there's not a card that just completely destroys Annihilus. Yes, Professor X is problematic. You could make the argument that like even Daredevil to some degree could be problematic because then they could read your play and then like block the locations with Sentry or whatever. But then again, like you're still just destroying a 10 power card. So like I think that countering Annihilus could be a little trickier. Obviously, if your opponent has initiative and they like cause wood and stuff like that, that can be problematic. But I think that with Man-Thing very specifically, it was the idea that you could just put Luke Cage in and it shut it down completely. I don't think Annihilus is that susceptible. Not that far off to what Man-Thing experienced, unfortunately. So I think that you can play it with confidence. I think it'll be pretty good. I think the amount of mirror matches might get things a little tricky.
Well, that's a good point, dude, because one thing I also think with Annihilus is he's one of those cards where people are going to look at it and try to create nutso combo. Try to create the craziest big swap and negative power, and those are going to be fun for the highlight reels. But, dude, he's just a good curve play, I think, too, for the toxic archetype, right? This is kind of crazy, but if you were going to play him on 6, I kind of even like him with She-Hulk. Anytime I get a cool 5 cost card, it's like, hey, skip turn 5 and then play She-Hulk and this card together. Huge swap in what you're trying to accomplish. maybe that's a little bit, maybe not the best example. But I think if you just play the Viper, the Hood, you throw out a Green Goblin, you have the Ghost Spider like we talked about, Man-Thing in there, you play Sentry on 4, Annihilus comes out, and it's just a great curve play. You're not trying to get the bomb, the pop-off. You know what I mean? I feel like he's just good as a staple, and that the archetype needed that consistency.
It needed the threat of a different type of attack, right? Because I still think on turn 6, like you can, like even turn 6, just like Hazmat Absorbing Man, like it's that simple. Like with all that junk on their side, like that's a heavy hit, right?
Let's talk about Hazmat because listen, Hazmat is, dude, has always felt like the card that was just never worth the risk, right? Like C2, even when Luke Cage got to 2 power, you're like, yes, but if you pull Hazmat without Luke Cage, terrible play. Now you have a way. You either pull Luke Cage or you pull Annihilus, and you have huge value from the Hazmat, especially the early play Hazmat. Hell, do we see a high Evo version of the Abomination deck with Annihilus as just a good curve play? There's some really interesting deck design that I think can be accomplished with this, and that's where I'm very interested to see where Hazmat, does she finally get the home in the play? Because there are players that love this card, but I can tell you, she's in the top 20 least played cards in the game for myself.
No, yeah, she doesn't get a lot of play because like it's so situational and hard to set up. But one thing that I think is going to be really beneficial is if you look at the play lines of something like an Annihilus deck, it's likely that you actually don't have that many pieces on your board. It might actually be one of the risks that deck runs. If you think about it, you have like Sentry, Debris, you have Annihilus itself. Like there's not that many cards that you're hoping to keep on your side, but you have to win the game still, right? So the nice thing about that is when you play Hazmat on turn 6, even if you don't have a Luke Cage, you're still hitting a 10 power Sentry to 9. You're hitting a 7 power Annihilus to 6. So those, like, might be a disproportional trade even if you don't have Luke Cage.
Yeah, so Rogue, it might be wanted or needed if we see Luke Cage spike up even more, which I do think this is one of those cards that we get Luke back as a tech card again, really in the meta. Let me throw this at you. Is this, again, which I think we're already seeing the return of her, is this a Magic deck? Is this a turn 7? Because your opponent is going to be filled to the brim. You play Magic on 3, your opponent's like, okay, I got some time. I got some time to play my cards out. And thus, you can play Annihilus on 6. You can do these different things. Because, man, I've been playing. I call it New Age junk. Again, I said it. It's got the She-Hulk. It's got the Infinite. Because there's a glaring problem in junk that there's not a huge finisher, right? And Annihilus is that finisher on turn 5. But turn 6 is always up in the air, okay? Annihilus or Alliath, sure, why not? But could Magic make her way because she's working with what you're trying to get accomplished?
Yeah, and you'll be the one with the space on the board, because I think the key line of text is in Annihilus is to destroy those that can't. What that means is that basically you're almost guaranteed, if you've put the junk on your side ready to send over, it's either blocking their lane with 4 or it's gone, giving you space to work. But their locations should be rammed, and that as a result gives them less room to play on turn 6 and 7, which gives you more time to hit them with like a Wong Hazmat or Absorbing Man Hazmat or whatever greedy ass thing you want to do. Yeah, I can definitely see Magic being beneficial here, because they will not have the board space to be able to kind of functionally combat you on turn 7.
Well, dude, let's talk about a couple new cards coming out. I know we both have like a flavor pick, and this is important, right? Because listen, cards can be great, but then cards get really good as other cards synergize with them. And the first one I want to bring up, and I talked about it when I was looking at all the cards coming out, is Selene. Now, Selene might be one of my favorite 1-drops that come to the game outside of Annihilus. A 1-cost card, guys, with -1 power. So right off the bat, hey, we've got ourselves a nice Annihilus synergized card. On reveal, though, afflict the lowest power card in each player's hand with -3 power. Man, this is so cool. This has a lot of interesting play lines. And maybe we see a Hazmat bounce deck with Selene. You're pushing a lot of negative power on the board, and it's on each hand. And so you're trying to get this happening. It's our first negative power card that's affecting the hand, not the cards in play. So I think Selene is really going to make Annihilus a much better card as well.
Yeah, without question. And not only is it incredibly disruptive, like if you're holding a Zabu and it gets hit, it's like Well, now it has -3 power. That makes you feels a lot worse to play that Zabu down, doesn't it, right? So I really like this card a lot, and you're right. It's allowing you to do some interesting activations, especially with Annihilus. And not only does Selene itself go over, but this could be a card that honestly, it's another Viper target. It allows so many different ways to approach junk, and I love it. I think it's going to be an absolute banger. And then on that note, we got to talk about Kyra as well, because as a 3/4 that basically has an ongoing ability that your 1 and 6 cards cost cannot be destroyed. I mean, it's insane what it can do, because it'll basically prevent those rocks and the hood and everything from getting Killmongered. This is actually the Killmonger counter that we've been looking for forever, and it just so happens to work tremendously with this archetype, because it basically ensures that none of these things you're hoping to kick over can be destroyed. But of course, it has the other side as well. Yes, they can't Killmonger it, but when you go to kick it back, if you know your sentry or whatever, actually, the void will get destroyed. In fact, it'll be the hoods and stuff that might remain on your side because they can't be destroyed, but Sentry's void will still get destroyed. I caught my error right off the bat.
Yeah, Selene comes out in December. Kyra comes out in January, so a lot of cool things and synergies ahead there. I do want to point out in general too a couple other solutions to what we were saying, right? So if you played the big power Typhoid Sentry, Hazmat doesn't affect those cards. Well, what's kind of cool is, let's take it back to the Elsa days, and let's take it back to, let's say, Mysterio, right? So, for whatever reason, Elsa and Mysterio fell off a lot, which I don't understand. I'll probably talk about this here in a later subject. But one of the worst things about Mysterio is that obviously you take up a lot of space. And so it's kind of a cool idea that you could utilize Elsa, that you could utilize Mysterio, or just Mysterio to either pump up big power or send 3 more cards that isn't using debris over to the opponent's side. You give them the Mysterio at 4, fine enough, but at that point, if you're doing the big bang switch off and you filled their lanes, you're probably looking pretty good. So I think debris and Mysterio are probably the best ways to get a lot of junk out there alongside Squirrel Girl. Right? Is there any others that I'm missing?
Not necessarily. I mean, you pretty much hit everything that I was going to talk about. Naturally, I think it's notable that it counts as a counter towards things like Green Goblin, right? Like the Green Goblin is being used a lot in the current meta, which is nice. But I think that we've hit on all the major players here.
Well, man, Annihilus is going to be fun. I'm excited to see how we talk about him next week. Let's go on to our next subject, and that is one we have not done in a while. It's one that's fun because no matter what, we're probably wrong, especially in the eyes of the viewer or listener. We're talking about the top 10 cards right now in Marvel Snap. Pretty diverse meta, although some people don't love it. Some people enjoy the meta that's being played at the moment. Either way, I want to talk about individual. What are the best cards within the game? Another tough list to make, man. And I also had a lot of sneaky options. Cards that kind of snuck in there, in my opinion, that may not be on other people's top 10s, but I think they have the biggest impact alone compared to other cards. Alex, let's get started with a couple honorable mentions.
Yeah, so for me, an honorable mention I really want to talk about is Nebula. It ends up being 11 on my list. I love Nebula. I think it's one of the most understated cards in Marvel Snap. People don't respect Nebula, but it's a control card to some degree. It is a 1-drop that'll have a significant amount of power at the end of the game. And I just think that it's a card that gets no respect. People don't complain about Nebula because it silently and quietly just chips away at your power level. And it is one of the best cards in the game that I feel like people just aren't talking about.
Yeah, it's funny. Nebula definitely, I was like, okay, just great card. Tough to put her in the top 10, but definitely deserves to be in my top 20. I don't think I'm going to question against that. I have Thanos in my honorable mention, just still doing what he does great, yeah, he's not where he was. The Time Stone, what he can do, I mean, the guy creates his own deck. Just the stones alone just creates so much havoc and so much opportunity for you as a player, so I definitely have him pretty high up. I also have kind of a shocking pick. I've got Jeff. I got Jeff out. He's my 11. I have him right out the top 10 because of the arrival of Miss Marvel is why I have him out. I think he's a bit easier now to counter. Not as easy, but still is easier. Fantastic. We're talking 11 to 10. But he's right outside of my top 10 list. What else do you have for an honorable mention?
That is straight up disrespect towards Jeff.
I knew it. Yeah, dude.
It's very upsetting. But you know what? I accept your call because I had to make a difficult choice too. I mean, sitting outside the top 10 is Silver Surfer, who I absolutely love. And I mean, for me, another shocking one is Shuri. I did not include in my top 10. So just outside top 10, I have Shuri and Silver Surfer. But Silver Surfer, I don't think has that power level right now. It's not the meta-defining list. It's just my personal favorite. So it's hard to not have it there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to go. It's funny. My last, not in my top 10 honorable mention is Professor X. This guy, I took him out. I put him in. I was struggling with this right before recording. Do I put Professor X in my top 10? Because to me, he feels like such a win card, right? Like stopping every effect. You win a lane, but is he good because of other cards? That was what I was struggling with. I have him right there around number 12 on my list as well. But with that, dude, let's go ahead and talk about our actual top 10, our best cards, starting at number 10, Alex. Hit me with your number 10, the best card to you within the game.
At number 10, ironically, gets super negatively impacted by Professor X. One of the reasons why I have it at number 10 is Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom has always been one of the best cards in Marvel Snap, but Professor X coming down so consistently on turn 4 or 5 really restricts the amount of power that Doctor Doom can put out. But it cannot be understated how good this card is with Miss Marvel, specifically because if you need to access a Sanctorum or something that you can't play into, Doctor Doom can do that, while also providing the big fist of Miss Marvel to come over and give that little buff. I still think Doctor Doom is one of the best cards in the game, and for me, it comes in at number 10.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I might be talking about him later. I have plenty to say. Number 10 at Doctor Doom for you. My number 10 is one that I try to think of just irreplaceable cards, right? Cards that, like, they do their job so well. The one that I get asked about the most, Iron Lad is a surefire. No matter what, if I want to leave him off, I can't. Maybe for his variants because they're not that great. Iron Lad is a top 10 card of the game. No one does what he does. He is the way that he makes essentially your deck 11 because of the effects you have, and you're able to build around him probably better than just about any card out there. He fits into so many decks. I could have put him way higher on my list, but I have him slotting him at number 10 here, buddy. Did Lad make your list? Are we talking about him later?
He didn't make my list. I've never been the biggest Lad guy, and I think right now the meta is kind of hard for him with the amount of Korgs, Rock Slides, and Black Widows that are dropping, right? You're getting much less reliable effect from him. He's just never been a card I jived with. I don't know what else to say. Like, I do respect him. I play him in my high evo lists, right? But that's pretty much the only time I really want to play him. Because even in ramp, where like he'll make some lists, like I don't want to play a forecast. I want to, you know what I mean?
Doom,
I want to play my pipe.
Like Doom though, Darkhawk, Devil Dinosaur, it's huge value.
You're right. Like I know that like me not believing in Iron Lad is a me problem. It's just it's never been a card that like I've ever been that excited to play.
Yeah.
But it saved me multiple times because when you're on turn 6, you're like, just YOLO Lad, I guess. You just do it, right? And sometimes you're like, you hit exactly what you need to hit, and it's a beautiful thing. So, no, I respect the card. I absolutely respect the call, and he probably deserves to be on a top 10.
What's your number 9?
Number 9 for me is an archetype-defining card, and this is Venom. Venom, I think, is one of those cards that, like, Destroy is not Destroy without it. The amount of just value it outputs for deaths, nulls, it single-handedly really put Destroy on the map. Because if you can go all the way back, when Venom was a 3-1, Destroy was just languishing. And then, like, yeah, we have great cards like Carnage and Death, but it's been Venom and the buff to Venom and the synergistic plays with Venom that I think have really elevated Destroy overall.
It's funny you say that because I was looking at Destroy. I was looking at the archetype, and it's tough to pick one card that really shines. It really stands out the most, right? Because it's such a package deal. Right, like Death is good. Null is great. Venom is just disgusting because of what he does. I like the pick a lot. For me, my Destroy pick isn't even a Destroy card, but to me, it's what elevated it even further. It was the first deck I slotted into when this card came out, and I think it has transcended the archetype. Now, it's not X23, although very good card. It's another 1-drop, and because she's a 1-drop, how do I leave her off? Nico Minoru, dude. Again, card that I could put higher. Listen. This card can fit into virtually any deck. Bounce and Destroy. In Destroy, it's almost insane what she's doing. The Destroy 2, or Destroy your card, draw 2, is hilarious with Deadpool and with Wolverine and cards you want to destroy. Turning things into Demon. The amount of flexible play, we thought she would maybe be too flexible, but I think she's perfectly done. And at just one measly cost is what makes me put her in my top 10. No question. And I think what she's added to Destroy, I'll never play the list without her again.
I find myself adding Nico to a lot of decks, even like just decks where like I'm playing Loki and it's like, oh, well, I can turn my Snow Guard into a demon. Why wouldn't I? Right. Like, it's surprisingly versatile, and the effects, like there are times where you just be like, well, I guess I'm skipping. I'm not going to play Nico this turn, so I hope it's something better next turn. Right. But like her effects rarely ever feel bad. And I think that's key. So I like the Colo. She doesn't make my top 10, but I mean, she's in my top 20 for sure. And this is a card that I've definitely warmed up to.
Well, number 8, buddy, what do you got?
Well, you had him as an honorable mention, but for me, number 8 is where Thanos comes in. Thanos, I think, has been an archetype defining card because he is the archetype. I think the Time Stone shenanigans you mentioned prior with Professor X and the rest, like it's just a great card. It's a card that I think should be in everyone's list. I think it's one of those cards that like really will always be relevant because I think that Thanos is always on the cusp of being one of the best decks in Marvel Snap, and then sometimes it just goes a little too high. Like Icarus flies too close to the sun. But ultimately, I do think that Thanos is an extremely reliable archetype, always will be and always has been.
Can I ask what pushed him over the edge for you? Because I remember maybe about a month and a half back, right? Like the Soul Stone change happened and you were done. I mentioned Thanos, you were mad about. You're like, how is this your 6 card? Thanos is terrible now. What really changed it to really make sense? Was it just the Time Stone ramp method that's just so, it's been proven time and meta again to be so solid?
No, it's the buff to Psylocke, and it's also Alioth.
Okay.
Like if you think about what the buff to Psylocke did, it gave you a little extra power, but it made that card fittable in that deck with the Time Stone. It made I can just play 5 drops kind of idea around Thanos much more reliable. But I think that Alioth specifically has elevated Thanos because Thanos naturally plays in this control shell. And Alioth loves that. And I mean, yes, the card's toxic as hell, but there's no denying that Alioth is incredibly impactful in these types of control lists, and Thanos just loves it.
My number 8 maybe surprises. I don't know. I never love putting tech cards in these lists, right? Like, because they kind of ebb and flow. Like Shang-Chi, I've never really put him in my list. Dude, listen, again, put him as high as you want to. Shadow King to me is a no question top 10 card because of a few reasons. But if you look at the best decks right now in Marvel Snap, all of them have the hard counter, or they get countered by Shadow King. Loki's Collector. You've got the giant building of Shuri for 2 costs. This is a card that time and time again has proven its value, and at 2 costs, I don't know how I could leave him off, and I almost feel bad even putting him this low on my list. But Shadow King for me is easy top 10 card.
I've actually been playing a ton of Shadow King, and maybe I disrespected him by not putting him on my top 10 because you're right, he does solo win games. The only challenge with him is that like I've been playing him a lot in Surfer because I like having those 2/2 drops as tech.
Yeah.
You don't want to play him on 2. You want to play him later. But then like if you have Sarah out, like do you really commit one of your 3 cards on turn 6 to Shadow King? Well, if you're against Loki, hell yeah, you do, right? Like if you're against Destroy and you can take out their Venom or whatever, maybe even against Shuri and you can take their Red Skull back down before they task. Like, yeah, sure, why wouldn't you, right? I think the Shadow King has a lot of value, but it's always played later.
Yep.
And I think for that reason, you still want other 2 drops in your deck. And so like it's a 2 drop you never play on 2. So that can be a little tricky, but it's undeniable how powerful its effect can be.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you have at number 7?
It's what you should have had at number 7, and it's Jeff the Baby Landshark. I mean, yes, it's one of the best cards in the game. I think like it's just okay, fine. I love the card because it's damn cute. Also, I've been reading the comics, also damn cute, right? They're so funny. I mean, it's just, they're just images too. There's no words on them, most of them, right? You just like scroll through and Jeff's just doing Jeff stuff and it's just awesome, right? So I love Jeff. I just love Jeff, okay? But he's also a phenomenal card as well. That you talked about Pro X, right? This works for Pro X. It counters Pro X as well. It also works really well into like locations you can't reach for Miss Marvel. I think the card's just fantastic.
Yeah, hey man, not fighting that at all. I got this split on my Twitch drops, and the first things in there was Alex is gonna be pissed because apparently because you love him. And do you have a good Jeff split yet?
Yeah, I have like a really nice inked one, and I have a really nice gold one, but none of them are crackled.
It took me
this
forever
is
to
a
get
disgusting split.
This is my first ink or gold. This is the first because I got like 9 of them, and I just could not get either. And then finally, I hit the gamble here and get a ink with a gold crackle. But yes. Jeff is great. I have nothing bad to say about him. And funny enough, right here is where I have something on your honorable mention that I'm like just as like shocked that you don't have on it. And it's Shuri. Dude, how? It's the best. It is a top 5 deck. It's been a top 5 deck for a year straight. And it's not because of Red Skull, even though Red Skull is great for doubling power. It's because of Shuri. Doubling power in Shuri is so stupid. It's so good. It's so great.
Dude, they nerfed her. 4-2 to a 4-1, unplayable.
It was tough. It was tough. With the don't forget the Sauron. Negative
Yeah,
one.
don't forget the Sauron.
Come on now. Come on now. Yes, the prevalence of Shadow King, but man, Shuri to me is just like, it's the disrespected card, right? Because like, who else can even at all pump out and win a lane by themselves?
You know what's funny about Shuri? There are times where I'm playing decks and they just drop Shuri on me and they play Red Skull the next turn. I'm just like, well, I got shit. So I just leave.
Yeah, they could have nothing.
Congrats.
They could have nothing.
I'm not playing Shang-Chi.
Yeah, you could pump in Korgs and rock slides and like odds are you hit that on like a Kamar Taj. Odds are they have like 5 rocks in hands and you're like, I'm out. I'm done. Dude, I've leached decks before and I'm like, nope. He top deck Taskmaster. It's happening. I don't care. It's happening. But yes, I agree. Shuri 7 for me. What about number 6?
Number 6 is Alioth. I think that Alioth has been tremendously impactful to the Marvel Snap meta. I know people hate Alioth, but I mean, you cannot deny how powerful this card is. Being able to just straight up delete your opponent's play, especially if you have initiative, feels disgusting. The card's ridiculously powered. I know that people are frustrated with it. I know people hate it, but you cannot understate how impactful this card is in Marvel Snap.
I officially am so excited to talk about our top 5. I have Alioth in a different spot. I have at number 6. It's tough to rank him by himself because he needs some support along the way. But it's like how do you not put him higher? If you look at the decks, you look at the cards. It's Darkhawk, buddy. Darkhawk is another card that could be way higher. If you look at the list, he's near the top, and he's near the top because of the way, we've said this for how long? The way you make him better is by clogging your opponent's deck with rocks. I mean, that synergy alone is so stupid. It's like, it's crazy. Like Devil Dinosaur, you get better by putting cards in your own hand. You can't play him down. You are actively disrupting your opponent with Darkhawk while getting his power. Oh, and he only costs 4. It's crazy that Darkhawk is as good, and he's been this good. We're going on a year. He came out in December. This is where I've got him.
Really? I can't believe this. I think you've been chugging way too much Kool-Aid because he is higher on my deck, and I'll have more to say shortly.
Good to go, man. What's number 5 for you?
Number 5, you're going to laugh. This is Chavez, America Chavez. I mean, this card, I know it's high. He can't even believe it. He's like, listen, America Chavez, this card is legit one of the best cards in the game. I don't care what anyone says. You can thin your deck. It's an absolute beauty. Come on, Cozy, do you disagree with me? You're talking about nerfing this card. It's so damn consistent.
I saw you had Chavez in your ramp deck the other day on stream. I was like, why is Chavez in here? Chavez doesn't need to be in the ramp deck, and you like to pull Electro. I get it, but I don't know, dude. I don't have her in my top 10. I honestly, I only played Chavez really in like my discard decks. I can't think of other ways. Oh, a balance too. I play her a ton in balance, but that's it.
That is, again, sipping the Kool-Aid. Not even sipping, you're chugging Kool-Aid.
I made the damn
by
Kool-Aid.
the gallon.
I made it.
I don't understand. Like, this has been one of the most polarizing cards in the last couple months. Like, Chavez is completely broken. This card is so good. It's unbelievably good. In a game where playing on curve is incredibly powerful, Chavez basically amplifies your early game and lets you get that bull rolling. It really is that good. Like, I like getting Korg out earlier, but like all those things are like just the consistency of the draw. Just enough to make this card fantastic.
For me, I feel like all the top decks, though, like don't need her. There's so many alternative wins with those decks, right? Like, Shuri doesn't have her, right? But you don't need her. You have other ways to win. There are lists where you want her. I totally get that. Hey, teach their own. I definitely don't have Chavez. Like, she's not coming up on my list at all. Doesn't mean I don't respect the pick. I understand it. You know, the Lammy people, that you guys love her. But I'm on the other side for me personally. Next up, I have a spicy pick, one that maybe is going to surprise you a bit. Maybe surprise our viewers. My man, I can't sleep on it any longer. People have been wondering my opinion. Werewolf by Night. I've got him this high. Werewolf by Night is I don't have the words, man. I didn't graduate with a good enough degree in English to say how much I like Werewolf. Is this not a phenomenal, silly, phenomenal card for the power you get and the synergy and the on reveal that it puts? It's crazy how high in stats and value and swapping lanes that this card can go.
Cozy, I can't believe we did it. Same spot for Werewolf by Night. This is where I have him next too.
No joke. You had him on your list?
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love Werewolf by Night. And I really like the playstyle too. because I think that like watching him bounce around and like it makes you think very critically about how you're playing your turns out. But most importantly, I like when people are playing Werewolf by Night against me and he's sitting as the 4th card in a location. And I'm like, he's going to betray that location because you can't get him back there. That's it. You can't get him back there. So now it's a 50-50 on the other locations. I love that part about the card. I think it's really neat from that macro perspective that like, you know, you have to play to move it, right? But then all of a sudden they drop a whole bunch of ongoing cards and it doesn't move at all. And you actually end up losing that location you were expecting to win anyway. So really like Werewolf by Night. I think it's a remarkable card and one of the best releases in the last few months.
So for me at number 4, this is where I was like, wow, okay. They brought him back up. I love Werewolf by Night, but Doom fits in more lists because he's less synergy for me. Like, yo, he's 15 power across the board, baby. Like, what else could you ask for? Perfect finisher. I get the Professor X argument for sure. I still lose to Doom plays. I don't know how I do because I'm always expecting some other purple cloud, but Dr. Doom is still, for me, easily a top card within Marvel Snap, personally, at number 4 here.
Number 3 for me, okay? And I would be shocked if it's not in yours. Like, this would be like, Cozy, if you don't have High Evolutionary, right? I've been joking about you chugging grape juice. Do you have High Evo? Because for me, he's number 3.
No, I don't. I don't have High Evo.
Oh, no, Cozy. No, you don't have High Evo.
No,
this card has been incredible.
Yeah, I probably could have put him. It's so funny because I think of it as like, the Hulk. You know, like I almost put the Hulk in by himself, and I'm like, no. But yeah, you're right. High Evo list for sure. That could be my snuff play. The ones above it is I just like a bit better. I'm trying to look at my list where I would have put him. Maybe like at the Iron Lad position. Maybe Nika, one of those two. I don't know if you would have made this high for me, but I'm not mad High Evo's this high at all. Do you prefer the Abomination build? Do you like the new She-Hulk version? What are you playing?
I actually have been pretty consistently playing the Abomination debuff version. Luke Cage has kind of fallen out of the meta. Ebbs and flows, right? The meta continues to ebb and flow, and I'm not seeing a lot of Luke Cage. And so it's just like free real estate for me to just pump. Like, I'm even playing Scorpion now, trying some Scorpion out a little bit. Getting a little greedier with the debuffs, but it's working. I'm playing Abomination for free half the time, and it feels great.
Well, dude, at number 3 for myself, and I love it because of where my boy ranked here. Whenever we started this bad boy off, this season off, number 3 for me, no question about it. I've got Miss Marvel coming in at number 3. I got a hell of a split too. Yeah, I mean, stats don't lie. Her stats are ridiculous right now. If you look across the board, her stats are, I think she's ranked number 1 on a couple of websites as the most winning card in the game at the moment. This is exactly what I thought she would be. Even my stream was saying she was like a 6.5 on release day. How do we not see this? She's a 4/5 that puts out 15 power, and it's not hard to accomplish that power. Just playing her with Dr. Doom is all you have to do. That's really all you have to do to get insane power. Between those two, if you play things right, it's a 30 power play. I'm sorry. It's a 30 power play across the lanes. Dude, great card. Put her in all my decks. I put her in just about every deck, if I'm being honest, these days, because where does she not fit in? Maybe in decks, you know, where you have multiple costs, but even then you can kind of plan things out. Bro, Miss Marvel. She's insane, yeah?
I have her at 15 for me. And I know that is crazy, right? Because like I was a little lower on the card, but like we just spent like a lot of time talking about Annihilus. Annihilus is going to be very problematic for Miss Marvel because of the replicated costs that are likely to come over onto her side, right? Because if they're sending rocks, your early plays are like kind of messed up, right?
You Killmonger them.
Yeah, you play Killmonger in your own deck. Yeah, of course, right? Hey, honestly, that might actually be the play. Like, you're joking, but at the same time, like 3 Killmonger, 4 Marvel's not crazy.
Dude, Miss Marvel, Darkhawk, and Killmonger are just tech cards is what I've been playing. It just wins. You only need those cards to win in the game. It's crazy how much power they bring together. And like, yeah, you can put her in lists. I think she works best in lockdown. You can put her in these lists, but she counters Jeff, like I alluded to earlier. I think she's a great counter to Jeff and these lockdown lanes. But also, like, she's just super cheeky. She can do a lot of things that, like, she doesn't feel bad to play ever. You could play her. You know what? There's, like, 4 cost cards. Like, Darkhawk is a great example. On turn 5, if you have to play him, you're like, I'm still getting this much power. Miss Marvel, still even on turn 5, I'm like, it's good. Don't, like, all good. I'm getting this much power out for the play, you know? So, number 2 for you.
Well, you just said his name. and it's the darkest of hawks for me. I mean, listen, I still think this card's incredible, and I know he was on your list too, naturally, but a little further back. But for me, Darkhawk, it's like the whole thing. It's the entire package, the full disruption package. Like you take Darkhawk at number 2, but really what it is you're taking Korg, Rockslide, Black Widow, Mystique, and everything else you play with it, because the entire package is beautiful. It works so well. And so for me, Darkhawk continues to be one of the best cards in Marvel Snap, and I am continuously shocked I'm not seeing as much Enchantress as I would expect. I'm not getting rogued very often, but I also tend to play Darkhawk later.
Okay.
But he's honestly, his vertical reach is impressive. So yeah, I love Darkhawk. I think he's legit one of the absolute best cards in Marvel Snap.
Yeah, no arguments there, man. Number 2 for me is Alioth. Alioth is winning games. Alioth is Alioth. He's the most feared card in Marvel Snap. He's the most hated for a reason. He's the most get out of jail free card. Put him at 1. I don't think anybody would bat an eye. Alioth is Alioth, and he's going to continue to just terrorize Marvel Snap. Don't even need to say much more about how good he is. It is what it is. When I have, like, I think if I search my comments by most said words, Alioth is a piece of is probably on the top there. What's your number 1, bud? I'm
so nervous now. Because, like, I'm looking at my number 1, and I'm like, it has to be the same. Because if he didn't pick this number 1, then he's intoxicated. And if I didn't pick his, then, like, what am I missing? But, like, it has to be Loki, right?
Yeah, of course, dude. Of course.
Okay, I was gonna say, there's no way yeah.
I started with Loki, and then I, like, worked my way down. I was like, and I had Alioth up there for a second. I was like, yeah, dude, Alioth to me is the best card. Loki, oh, man. You know what I'm so sad about him is they're gonna have to do something about it. And I don't know what you even do to make this card right, you know, because it's that good. It's that good. He's so good. It's ridiculous, Alex. It's crazy. The -1 cost, you can make him 4 cost. You can make him 5 cost, man. It's crazy, man. What do you do about him?
You can't do much about him at all. Like, I think that, like, Mobius and Mobius, I almost liked it better when he was a little more relevant. Like, I know it took out a lot of other decks, but at least it made Loki much more risky. In the current shape that Mobius and Mobius is, it's completely not playable. Not even Surfer. I tried experimenting with Surfer. It wasn't worth it. And the thing is that even with the -1 energy applied to the Loki cards, like without it, with Mobius on the board, like it still just pumps out value. Like it still just uses your cards against you because of the collector and everything else that it has going for it. The archetype itself, it runs like a well-oiled machine, but Loki is incredibly fun. And that's actually why I put it number 1. Not only is it incredibly powerful, but it is so fun to play that it is like, if I'm just chilling, it's one of those decks I want to pull out and just play for fun because it's legitimately that enjoyable.
Very freaking good, man. And those are going to be our top 10 lists. Want to hear y'all's opinions and y'all's comments as well. Let's quickly talk about cards that nobody is playing, Alex, but they should be. Why aren't people playing these cards, man? And, you know, I'll kick us off. You know, I said a while ago, I think I had him as a sleeper in one of, I think it was on your side. I had Spider-Ham. And it was right after his OTA. Guys, start playing Spider-Ham more. A single 1-cost card that completely disrupts and just messes up your opponent's deck and synergizes with cards like Werewolf by Night and imbalanced decks. Spider-Ham, and for that matter, Iceman, are not being played enough, dude. They're just not, in my opinion.
It feels a little underpowered. Like, I totally get what you're saying. And like when I have a Spider-Ham, played against me, it's annoying. It's definitely annoying. I do think it could benefit from a 1-2 though. Like, I think that it being a 1-2 wouldn't break the game. I think that you're one of the few believers. I gotta tell you, Cozy, I think you're one of the few believers. I'm not seeing a lot of Spider-Ham being played against me at all.
If you haven't played him with Werewolf,
like, it's annoying.
If you haven't played with Werewolf, you have to. It is simply put, it's too good to just grab his power and activate another card on top of it. With bounce, it just works out pretty well. Iceman as well, dude. Mobius is gone. Play him. Why aren't we playing Iceman anymore? I get it. You don't get to see the impact, and I can understand that. But he still does what he does.
Yeah, Iceman's one of those really underappreciated cards right now. And you're right, it's back 100%. It's seeing some play in like the bounce-based decks right now, which is pretty cool to see. But ultimately, Iceman has fallen off. It used to be like literally like the number 1 played 1 cost in Marvel Snap. And Mobius kind of made people forget about it, but it should be back, but it's just not.
Hit me up with some should-be played cards, but they're not.
Well, you can stay at cost 1 here because I have one of my absolute favorite cards in Marvel Snap right now, but I kind of know why people aren't playing it because it might not be in everyone's collections. It's Echo. Echo is an incredible card right now, especially with the prevalence of Ms. Marvel. You casually throw Echo into the center location every single game on turn 1 and just laugh. The best thing about the best thing about Echo and its most powerful effect is the fact that it's invisible. I can make a 20-minute highlight reel of people playing cards on top of Miss Marvel. Like, it is shocking how often people will play cards on top of Miss Marvel. In fact, during the Twitch drop stream, I was joking about how often people were playing on top of Echo. And then I played on top of Echo because I wasn't paying attention. And it's like hilarious, right? Because like this card, it is legitimately an immensely, it just shuts down the current meta for the most part. Like Miss Marvel's everywhere and Echo really restricts the ability to play it. I think this card's phenomenal.
Yeah, whenever I was like commentating one of my Twitch plays, I was like, okay, we can go there. Let's go Mystique in the middle. And everyone's like, hey, you can't. There's Echo there. And I was like, oh, how did I forget, right? Because you're always looking on your side of the board and then you forget what's over there. I agree. She's a stealthy, good card. I'll save time. Obviously, Jean Grey, those are my two loves, right? They've been my loves. Too. Yeah, you have to. Jean Grey, master disruption, especially against the meta right now, man. Miss Marvel, collector into the lane where they have to play Loki at that point. It ruins them. It ruins them. And it coincides with Elsa. And I said this at the beginning. Elsa got tuned to be a great card, not the best card. She's still fantastic. And tell me the truth, I'm not seeing Elsa out there at all anymore.
No, I'm not seeing a lot of Elsa either. There were a couple lists that were using Elsa, and then she ended up getting cut. Like the Kitty Pryde Elsa package got cut because of the fact that the Kitty Pryde and the Angela got worked down as well. So like, yeah, that whole package has kind of disappeared, but Elsa's still a remarkable card. You're just not seeing it.
Yep, for sure, man. Another one on my list I had is, and this is one that's like, let's get it back out there. Legion wins games. Can we agree? Legion wins games. He's always won games. 7 power. Who gives a damn? He's going to win games because of how people rely on locations, man. Especially in a control meta where we have, Storm is definitely made her way back. And Legion is just a great way to win games you probably shouldn't a lot of the times, man. Would you agree?
I would agree. Absolutely. And you're also seeing a lot of She not being played right now, and those decks are not including Legion. So you naturally just destroy the limbo based location with Legion, while also having the element of surprise on your side as well. So yeah, I really like Legion. There's 2 last cards I want to talk about here. One of which is in much more players' hands, and another one I just want to shout out because I know why people aren't playing it because it's not as prevalent. The first is going to be Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Oh, dude,
this card has been unbelievable for me. Absolutely unbelievable. I think it's one of the most slept on cards in Marvel Snap. I take some issue with the way that it works mechanically compared to Alioth. I feel like Negasonic could just destroy an unrevealed card if Alioth can. I mean, I know that's a massive buff.
Dude, she's already stupid good. She's already so good.
I know it would be so good, but like, why does Negasonic allow the unreveal, like the whole flip thing, and Alioth doesn't? It seems like an inconsistency to me. Hey, listen, as someone who's been loving Negasonic, I'm just throwing it out there that I've noticed the inconsistency.
Flip Alioth, and then you're good, right? Instead of Negasonic, just make Alioth work the other way around, and then like we solve maybe. But I get what you mean as far as a game that totes itself on consistency. That's fair enough. Yeah. But my man, that is going to conclude this side of the Snapchat. Great conversations today. We're going to look like different humans after Annihilus hits us, man, and. We've got Thanksgiving coming up here in America, so enjoy your Thanksgiving on this holiday week, guys, and have a great turkey. Apparently avoid the stuffing if it's up to Alex. And we're going to be talking about a lot of great stuff over on Alex's side, including Gladiator in review. We're going to be talking about the cards that we want buffed in the upcoming OTA. Looking forward to all that, my man. And as always, guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And until that next Snapchat episode, happy snapping.